Hello and welcome to another edition of Start Select. I'm your host Guy Cocker, and boy have we got a jam-packed show for you today. First we're going to fly out to New York to take a look at Max Payne, the director's cut on Blu-ray, which I know many of you will be excited about. And we visit Sweden to talk to the head of Starbreeze Studios, the guys behind the Chronicles of Riddick, Assault on Dark Athena. But first we went somewhere far more local, just down the road in fact, to meet Introversion Software to see how they're bringing Darwinia Plus to Xbox Live Arcade.
Hello and welcome to EA. Oh, it's not EA, is it? Hello and welcome to Lionhead. No, not Lionhead. You. Hello and welcome to Introversion. Come on in.
Darwinia is kind of like a utopian world inside the computer. You control little tiny green stick men, discovered by Dr. Sepulveda as a kind of artificial intelligence experiment. And it's a kind of strategy game. You kind of populate the world, move around, create new items, engineers and so forth, and take them forth. Like I say, it's utopian, so nothing really bad happens. Darwinia was released back in 2004 and won the IGF award, the same as McNally Award. And around that time, Microsoft approached them to produce it for Xbox Live Arcade. Now, the original intention was just to do a straight port of Darwinia. But then Microsoft, their usual kind of way, they said, can you give us multiplayer? And so we had to kind of squeeze in multiplayer into Darwinia, which didn't work. And what happened was we were creating Multiwinia instead, which turned out to be a separate game. We in turn then approached Microsoft and said, well, we've actually got two games now instead of one. Can we release them as two? So they said, no, you're doing it as one. So what we ended up with is actually two games in one package. Multiwinia, on the other hand, is really a collection of small games.
Each player starts with a home flag. It is well protected by gun turrets. Your aim is to capture your opponent's flag whilst protecting your own. To do this, capture all the flags that link your home flag to your opponent's flag. Capture your opponent's home flag to win the game. Each team is building a giant rocket. It's a race to see who can launch first. First, you must capture solar panels to power your fuel pumps and refuel your rocket. You might have to fight for them. Next, load your rocket with 100 Multiwinian astronauts. A 10-second launch countdown will begin. During your launch countdown, enemy saboteurs will attempt to destroy your rocket. The first player to safely launch their rocket wins.
My favourite one though is Capture the Statue.
The statue is very heavy and it moves very slowly. Be careful not to drop it. Look out for attacking armies who want to steal the statue from you. Carry the statue safely back to your home base to score a point.
We haven't really been told what the final price is or even when the actual release date as far as Microsoft is concerned. We got our internal release date, which is September. That's when we want to complete the game internally.
I'm responsible for coming up with our new video games and doing the primary technical work and architecture, and then seeing them through to finished games. And the games that I've made so far, the Uplink was my first Introversion game, which I made when I was at university.
You're an Uplink agent, a freelance hacker. Your clients, global multinationals. You hack into rival computer systems, steal research data, sabotage other companies, launder money, erase the evidence, even frame innocent people, and all from the comfort of your own home. In Uplink, you are the hacker elite.
Then we had Darwinia and DEFCON and Multiwinia. And I'm now working on our 5th game project, which is called Subversion. It's the longest running project that I've ever done. It's been running since 2002. And it was actually meant to be our 2nd video game immediately after Uplink. But it's just been kind of delayed, and every time we come to work on it, the other games that we're working on just naturally get ahead. And then, but now finally we're actually focusing on it and we're going to finish it. We've learned a lot of lessons about content in video games, and it takes us a very long time to make any content ever. So, like Darwinia, for example, we spent 3 years and it only had 9 levels. And so we've been trying to use a lot of procedural content generation, which basically means that we generate the world that the game takes place in from nothing. We start with a completely blank canvas and we write rules for how to generate the world, and we just run those rules over a long period of time to create a whole game world, which is very rich, but we've never actually manually edited or made. And everybody's game world will be different. And so it's set in like a modern city, so we can generate a 10-kilometer area of city within just a couple of minutes, with skyscrapers and rivers and houses and everything. And then any one of those buildings, you could click on that building and go into that building, and then more detail will appear, the floors will appear, and elevators will appear, and then eventually people and systems that run the building and so on. And so what we're trying to do is trying to make a very large game area with an awful lot of depth as well in any of the areas that you go to, but none of it's been handmade. And then we use that to fill up our world with content. Obviously, if you handcraft everything, there's a very limited area that your players can go through, and then they hit the edge of your game world and they can't go any further. So you could imagine a scenario where you've got like a 30-story skyscraper, and we might do the 28th and 29th floors completely by hand and script everything and write all the dialogue and lay everything out by hand. And then at that point we've set up constraints. We've said there's an elevator shaft here, for example, or there's a staircase here, and these are the window types that we've used. And then you run the procedural generation on all the other floors of the building, and it just fills in the building with all the details, really quickly, just like that. And then you haven't had to use your time to produce content to the same quality level as those 2 floors. If we did everything in Subversion that we could possibly do, it wouldn't come out until 2030, and it would be bankrupt about 100 times over by the time we finished it, because it's such an expansive idea. I mean, you could do anything in it in this game world, and so we're quite careful, I think, to pick the targets that we want to go for and pick the things we want to aim for and do them really well. But in terms of expanding the game world after launch, I'd love to do that.